limit as z goes to 4 of z minus 4 over 1 over z minus 1 over 4. The first thing we're going to do is try plugging a 4 in for all of the z's. In the numerator we would have a 4 minus 4. In the denominator we would have a 1 over 4 minus a 1 over 4. In the numerator 4 minus 4 is 0. In the denominator 1 over 4 minus 1 over 4 is also a 0. We have the 0 over 0 indeterminate form. We will need to rework the problem since this does have a combination of fractions happening in the denominator here. We can try to rework this using the common denominator method. We're going to produce a common denominator between the two fractions that are combining with each other. That's happening in the denominator in this problem. The denominators of those two fractions would be a z and a 4. The common denominator will be 4 times z. I will need to multiply the first fraction by 4 over 4 and the second fraction by z over z. Those are each forms of 1. So that we do not change the value, we just change the form. The numerator is going to stay z minus 4 for now. In the denominator we would have 1 over z times 4 over 4, multiply the numerators, that's a 4, multiply the denominators, that's a 4z, minus 1 over 4 times z over z, multiply the numerators, that'll be a 1 times z, which will be a z, 4 times z, which is a 4z, and they are now over the common denominator, in which case they now can be combined. They're subtracting. That'll give me a 4 minus z over the common denominator of 4z. Now, since we have a fraction within a fraction, we're going to want to reciprocate and multiply that denominator fraction with the numerator. So that'll be my next step. Limit as z goes to 4 of z minus 4 times the reciprocal, which would be 4z over 4 minus z. So I've reciprocated. I'm going to be multiplying it. Now z minus 4, if you want to, you can think of that as being over 1. So the 4 minus z is going to be multiplying with a 1 here. So our next step is to multiply these fractions. In the numerator we will have 4z times z minus 4. You just multiply the numerators, and in the denominator just multiply the denominators. We'll have 4 minus z. We now see where we are coming up with the 0 over 0. Factors z minus 4 and 4 minus z in the numerator and denominator are making the zeros. They're not able to cancel just yet since they're opposite signs of each other. We need to factor in negative from one of them. I'm going to opt to factor the negative from the denominator simply because it's less complicated looking. I factor a negative out of it and it will change each of the terms to opposite signs. So the z will be positive and the 4 will be negative. And that allows us to cancel out the z minus 4 in the numerator and denominator, leaving a 1 in the denominator. So we have limit as z goes to 4 of 4z over negative 1. We can now plug a 4 in for the z, and that'll give me 4 times 4 over negative 1. 4 times 4 is 16, divided by negative 1 will be negative 16.